right, what's going on out there, SMITE fans? Finch here, and welcome into the SMITE Minor League. You already saw it. I'm joined by Anatoly Astyaniax here on the desk. And we have a really good set of minor league matches lined up for you here today. We're starting in Europe, as usual, with Flashpoint versus Horizon Union, but that'll all be happening a little bit later on. Toly, we got to talk a little bit about where all these teams are going to be going here after a while, what they're all fighting for and all that stuff. So we got a lot of stuff to break down before we actually move into the action this time around.
It's going to be the high-res expo that we're all excited to see how these minor league teams are going to be able to stack against those top of the echelon pro league teams. And so far, Flashpoint doing a good pacing thus far. After losing the first week, they went undefeated since then.
Yeah, that's a great point. Flashpoint have looked so strong right now between them and Simplicity. It is so tight up there at the top of the SMLEU. And those two spots those two teams are holding on to right now are the most coveted positions. This is another look at that path towards making it to the World Championship. Obviously, this phase that we're in here right now, all the way up to the 25th, where the teams are trying to qualify for SWC. But the placement week that's happening November 3rd through 8th, there's going to be 2 SML teams from each region that make it. And remember, Collins will have a bit of a play-in bracket to that placement stage right before that.
And it's important for those SPL teams to at least finish off that top 6 so that they can auto-qualify from the regular season and avoid the placements entirely.
Yes, exactly. If they can, they would love Dota to be down there with it, because like we say, there are some really tough SML teams down here. I think that if I'm, who are we predicted to be down there? Obey or something like that, or one of those teams, LG, you might be a bit worried about running into Flashpoint or Simplicity or Armada on the other side. So if you can avoid that bottom 4, you'd really like to.
I mean, just look at what happened to Rival, losing to Armada during MSI. Exactly. Anything can happen, it almost feels like.
Yes, it certainly can if you're not coming into those matches 100% prepared. And then out cold, a team that we had huge expectations for coming into the season because of who's on that roster, like Prime and Demi. I think they've had a much better phase here this time at 3-3, getting to show with those 2 expansion teams that they're a little bit better than the bottom. If they can find a couple more important wins, they still have a chance to make it back up there too.
I totally agree with you, Finch. We're in week number 8. There's still 5 more weeks of competition. That 3-3 can easily go into 8-3, especially if there's a couple of slip-ups from Simplicity and Flashpoint.
That's right. They don't need Simplicity and Flashpoint to both self-destruct at this point, right? If it's just one or the other, then they could try and make it into that spot. So it's this entire region vying for just those 2 spots up near the top. But this match that we're going into, Flashpoint Horizon Union, I think is actually a bit closer than it might seem on paper. Last week, Horizon Union did take down Queso 2-0. So clearly this is a team that can win when they're able to get everything going their direction. So we'll see if that's enough for them against Flashpoint.
And I think the strength that they really rely on is that soul lane or Terror, because his KDA, actually, I looked it up before this game started, is #1 currently in the European region at 5.0.
That's nuts.
He has a really good KDA. But at number 2, it's actually somebody from Flashpoint. It's not Dzoni, as we all expect. It's actually Kespainify.
But I guess FaraKrik, but sure.
4.0. So it's like a whole 1 point between these 2 players.
That just goes to show what Terrorem's been able to do for this roster here on the right-hand side. And he's been backed up by a couple of names you should be familiar with, Markus and Mr. Stefan, Echrome as well. These players have all been around this exact level. Challenger Cup, in Mr. Stefan's case, even a little bit above that at times. So we'll see if they can show us some of that experience here in what should be a pretty tough match.
It's going to be very difficult, especially when you're stacked up against Flashpoint's jungler Dzoni.
Yes.
This guy just runs the table. When he gets that early momentum, he doesn't let it go. Holding the #1 spot in the overall minor league of Phase 2 with kills at 105. The next one after him, it's Fails at 80. A whole 25 kills separating those 2 players.
Well, that's just the kind of impact that Dzoni brings, I suppose, to borrow something there from Aggro. One of the few good things that he does. I mean, Aggro would say that. Flashpoint, on the other hand, I think that just aside from Dzoni, we kind of overlook how strong the rest of this team has been for them. And I really think of FaraKrik when I talk about where some of the other strengths of this Flashpoint roster lie. So if you spend all your time trying to ban away hyper carries from Dzoni, as if he isn't just going to play the next one down, then you're letting Kespainify, FaraKrik, and Sibi have really strong stuff, and they can run games too.
And that's why Flashpoint is such a scary team, because of the pure strength from all of those roles. It's not just the Giannis from FaraKrik, it's the Hunters as well that he can bring to the table. It's the older school mages that he'll bring up from time to time. It's hard to really ban against all of Flashpoint, but they're going to take a shot at the jungler today.
They sure are trying, right, with the Kali and the Ao Kuang ban. I think the Ao Kuang ban is a must. When you're second up against Flashpoint, there's not much you can do about that. The Kali ban, a little bit more up in the air, but this is where he likes to go when he's no longer allowed to get that Ao Kuang pick. The only problem is that now Set is available. Maybe this won't be for Dzoni. I think we like Set in the short lane a little bit more, potentially for Sibi, but if this goes to Dzoni, that's scary too.
And the flexibility alone is very scary for Ho-Run to deal with, right? But they probably went into this matchup anticipating giving up the set and having some counters for it. Seeing some defensive measures, the best way to deal with this set is peels, right?
Yes.
With this selection now from Horizon Union, there's ways to deal with that between the root, the stun, and then even the damage mitigation that Earthen Fury provides.
Now the Zhong gets added in too. This is another thing that I think could feel really good against Set, is because he likes to get up close to you and he's kind of weaving a little bit as he trades in those melee autos and you might miss a little bit in that location. Don't worry about that with Zhong. This big AoE around him, you're definitely going to be able to hit this Set and potentially peel him off in time to keep some people alive. But what about the Set versus Olorun? I mean, I feel like Set's probably a little bit more valuable than Olorun right now, but they banned the Olorun.
I think it's the ultimate, honestly, because of all the team fights around Gold Fury and Fire Giant, that sanctified field covers so much space. You have to be mindful about it. And I love this Osiris pickup. I was actually going to make note of this, how every time we see a Zhong on one side, it always seems that the other one is picking the Osiris. And the main reason is the Judgment Tether. Mitigating all that AoE damage is a big deal, and I think that if Flashpoint didn't lock in that Osiris, that Horizon would have selected it.
This feels so different than a lot of the other matches that we see where the carry picks are prioritized very early on, but Flashpoint has gotten Osiris, I imagine, for Sibi, which must mean sets for Dzoni, and then this Geb for Fusify, which means the Kespainify and FaraKrik are going to have to wait till the second half to grab their 2 picks when usually those are prioritized.
Possibly, because you never know if the set is going to go in the long lane
That's
either.
A good point.
After Snoopy's performance in MSI, some players have been trying to replicate that. Not to the same success as Snoopy, obviously. You can't really go up against Evan Man, Snoopy Jones, but I think that it's not out of the realm of possibility for Flashpoint, especially when they have such a demanding just separation in the standings compared to Ho-Run.
That's a great point. I mean, the set could certainly be played over there, so a bit of flexibility for Flashpoint as Giannis and the Chronos get banned away. And I think this is good from Horizon Union. Even if the set does flex down to Kespainify, we definitely know FaraKrik's pick's not on the board here yet. So go ahead and ban away some of the stuff that he likes to play, see if you can limit his god pool a bit.
I wouldn't be surprised if Poseidon was going to be locked in for Flashpoint. That cripple would heavily devastate the King Arthur and the Terra, as that's going to be basically the thorn on Horizon's side.
Yes, it can be difficult to try and make it through as Cernunnos comes in. He's been valued a little bit more, I feel like, here lately. Not typically I thought of as like that high-pressure hunter that you want in the mid lane, especially when Anhur, Ullr's, Chirons are on the table. But Cernunnos can certainly still be strong with the Wild Hunt, and I think his boxing potential gets a little bit slept on sometimes.
Yeah, the shifting of the seasons is important as well, to be able to either chase down members with the winter's phase or healing yourself up in the springtime as well. So a good way to self-peel for yourself with the Wild Hunt, but Jing being locked in for Kespainify, a very safe selection against Horizon, where you don't really know where some of these picks are going yet.
Yes, so just go and grab the Jing safe, can build in the fail not quite well, which means the crit will come online, and then the Poseidon, as you mentioned, just something that FaraKrik likes, but the cripple's just also straight up good, as you were highlighting earlier on. It's exactly why they go to it, and now the Naja comes in. This gives them the jungler for Markus now, I'd imagine. We've been seeing Naja kind of creep back in here a little bit. I think that the Sash and Windfire Wheels are still good.
I'd like Naja in general, but I don't like it in this draft or this team composition because there's no Big Bang ultimate to follow up.
It's on the other side. You might get cracking on the back end of that Naja, right? So we'll see if it works. Horizon Union versus Flashpoint.
Flashpoint taking the field here. Horizon Union going to be going head-to-head against them. This is your captain speaking. I'm Tom Battinger. I've got my co-pilot here, Ryan Agro Bailey, and of course the most important person on this flight will be NA cameraman Doug LeBlanc. Checking out where these teams are starting. Nothing too crazy, in all honesty. We got the Zhong in the long lane, traded out for the Cernunnos mid. Something that makes sense, but we just haven't seen Kern in a while.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of Kern as of late, and it's not the traditional mid hunter that you might be expecting. You know, it's not the Medusa or the Anhur or anything like that, but I think Kern mid can certainly work. You definitely want to pick him into characters that can't get away once they're rooted. Poseidon certainly fits that bill. So Echrome is certainly on a god that can fight pretty well around mid-harpies, clear mid-harpies pretty well because of the passive, and still be able to fight as a hunter in the mid-lane game.
Yeah, you know, he is largely, you know, that the Bramble Patch is a very mage-like ability. It's curious, is it because of his change of series? All right, FaraKrik eats it early. Did not expect that, but the Naja combination, I think that's really what comes down to it. Root into stun into what are you going to do?
It is a lot of damage for sure, and the dash cancel from Cernunnos always really, really potent. That's probably what caught FaraKrik there in the mid lane.
2v2 here here on the solo side. Terrorem on the King Arthur. This is kind of where Arthur really likes to bang, obviously more so with the Glad Shield, but Warrior's Blessing will do the job for now as Fusify takes a ton of damage. Horizon Union being really aggressive here on the short side, and I like it. It's the type of composition that they've drafted. Terra is interesting. This level 1, level 2 is actually potent for her.
Just really tough to fight into a Terra. Not her level 1, pretty poor, but level 2 and on, she gets a lot better. Access to quite a bit of damage. They might need it here, because here comes Dzoni on the
I
rotation.
love it. Here comes Dzoni right on in. The set pops over the wall. The skewer not good enough, but the basic will be. Flashpoint answer back. HU grabbed the first blood earlier on, and FP is Dzoni making the play in the beginning on the set. First kill jungle set, not something you want to see generally.
No, not usually, and it's a little surprising to me that Horizon Union's willing to give up this set pick to Dzoni. I mean, Dzoni is the guy for Flashpoint, and Set is the guy for a lot of different players. He's just a really potent pick in the jungle or in solo, or in my mind, in ADC or mid. You can really put that character anywhere.
Yep.
I think that letting Dzoni get this pick, clearly Horizon Union was willing to give him the set instead of his signature Alkwong or the Kali. Probably would rather see Dzoni on the Kali personally, but if I'm up against him, that is. Set is right there with the Alkwong, man. I just think that Set's really potent, and Dzoni is all about the same play style that Set has.
Early in the match here, Dzoni gonna get some farm as well, which is the only issue, if any, with Set in the jungle compared to what we usually see there in the solo lane or in the long lane. He gets all this farm, and Set absolutely a character that is item dependent more so than others, I think, because he's got to grab up some of those stats in order to make Kingslayer actually worth it. And once you have sort of a base level, really Kingslayer can exist on its own. So where are we expecting Set? Obviously we see the kill on the right side, but that's less Set and more the solo later and the support. Where do we expect to see him? See a 1 item, 2 item, 3 item? Where's he gonna land?
Find himself in the mid lane right here as Echrome's used the dash and Dzoni goes right in.
Beads are used and it doesn't matter. Echrome gets abused. And Dzoni comes up clean one more time. And again, these are the kills that you don't want to be giving Flashpoint. Look, Dzoni is a superstar player, and Flashpoint is a superstar team for all to be said. But you want to make them work for these kills. Johnny's walking in a lane and being handed a dum-dum pop. This is bad luck for Horizon Union, and don't expect Dzoni to not capitalize on this lead.
Agreed. I mean, that play just brought to you by Horizon Union being too far forward in the lane. Fusify with the least intimidating blink knockup of all time, but it forces Echrome to dash when he doesn't really want to. Maybe you should be dashing into the jungle. Maybe you should just be holding the dash because you're not under any sort of pressure and just turn and walk away.
Yeah.
It's those little micro plays that can dictate quite a bit. And Horizon Union has been on the rise as of late. They played really, really well last week. I think there's a team that a lot of us here have gotten pretty high on pretty quickly, all things considered. But now they're up against one of the best 2 teams in the region, bar none. It's really between Flashpoint and Simplicity right now as far as who's going to take the crown in the European Minor League, and they won't let you get away with plays like what we've seen so far from Horizon Union.
Absolutely. There's definitely a split up here, and you know, it depends on the day. It's kind of like the weather, but Flashpoint can absolutely look better than Simplicity, and vice versa. So I've really enjoyed watching this European minor league kind of go back and forth, because I think they're 2 very different styles, and I think that's a great kind of showcase for competitive SMITE right now. Simplicity are your kind of tried and true classic all in like team squad, and Flashpoint are this unit that you usually see at lower ends of play, where Johnny's the guy and he's really performing. Fusify is going to help him out there. Lane pop up, and the Kraken man just barely escaping it is Markus with the defensive ultimate. FaraKrik there making some noise, just cooldown boots to his name, so not able to find the kill just yet, but that'll be devastating pretty soon.
Really nice Kraken from FaraKrik, but an even better stun from Astia ends up getting Markus out of danger, but juking the skewer might be enough.
Yeah.
Dzoni, if he would have pre-committed the Kingslayer, might have been able to find that kill, but as it stands, won't find Markus.
What's really fun about Flashpoint to me is that they're all Johnny on the surface. That's cute. Markus is like, I'm gonna heal up just in case. They're all Johnny on the surface, and largely a lot of times Johnny will go 12-0 and 12 and be the hard carry. But I think if you saw their midseason invitational performance where FaraKrik was absent, it's so noticeable how important these other teammates are around him. FaraKrik, Fusify are two people that I think are pivotal to this team for sure, and the mid lane has been really fun watching, specifically these past 2 years, Aggro. I think FaraKrik has been here for a long time, but this past year and a half, FaraKrik has turned from a slightly above average minor league player to something really special, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, that's the designated path that you're hoping to take when you've got a star player, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be that you would just ban out Alquang and whatever else Johnny was playing at the time and tell the rest of Flashpoint, okay, you get whatever you want, beat us with it. And then you need someone to step up and be that secondary win condition for the most part and end up with a god or two that they also can't afford to get.
Yep.
And FaraKrik's Giannis was the first one that really started pulling bans away from Johnny's god pool and freeing him up to do what he wants to do. And that's the path that you're hoping for with a team like Flashpoint. And I think that they're going to continue to get better. I've got no problem with them sticking together as a unit. I think they've continued to grow and really understand the game together. I've been impressed with their path so far this year. Simplicity may have passed them up towards the back end of Phase 1. They've looked really good so far here in Phase 2 as well, but so has Flashpoint. And I think that we're in for a really good back 5 weeks of this last Phase 2 to see who's going to come to those HRX qualifiers.
Yeah, it's definitely the season of Farah. You know, you mentioned the Giannis, the Agni's terrifying. Grouping up here on the left side, Horizon Union will largely grab those. Johnny just a little off there. Markus tosses the ring, separated from the squad. It's going to be Horizon Union that makes the play. Polymorph popped. Mid lane Echrome burns the ultimate. Gets nothing for it. Flashpoint now can be a little bit more aggressive here in the mid lane. Sibi's shading over from the right side. He's here way earlier than the King Arthur, but unfortunately, and perhaps intelligently for Horizon Union, they stay on their tower. They don't allow Sibi to really make that move.
Fusify went in with a Blink Cataclysm and hit Echrome and Astia with that, while Johnny and FaraKrik were a little bit more preoccupied with what Markus was doing in the jungle, and it looks uncoordinated a little bit, and I think it still may have been, but it ends up working out positively for Flashpoint. Fusify all by himself. He got ultimates from Echrome and Astia and purification beads from Echrome all at the same time. Yes, FaraKrik has to use the beads because of that polymorph coming from Echrome, but still, that's a good trade for Flashpoint. Could be enough to open up a Gold Fury soon.
Yeah, I think that's an instinct play coming out from Fusify, going, if I blink Cata here, I'm going to get all this stuff. Maybe my team follows up, maybe they don't, but I'm going to make this play on my own. Looking for the punish here is Markus as he sashes in onto the support. Whirlpool hits, Kraken off the mark. FaraKrik, a rare miss for the mid laner on Flashpoint. So now both of our mid laners have whiffed their ultimates, and we are sitting at a full reset, so to speak. Thought Markus might have gotten aggressive there. Has the ultimate, and honestly, just a straight Naja ult onto the beadsless Poseidon would have been a good move, but Horizon Union a little bit gun shy. I asked you the question, black and white, Ryan. Was it the right choice to be gun shy there?
I mean, it's tough because you don't have the traditional mage in the mid lane. If you've got something that can hit FaraKrik over the wall with an ability, I don't think FaraKrik would have died outright, especially because he got Geb shielded by Fusify. So you needed a little bit of extra damage, and it's pretty easy to zone Echrome out of that damage.
Right.
He needs to step around the corner, hit the Bramble Blast. If that's on cooldown, then you're in trouble because Wild Hunt wasn't up at the time. So it's just kind of an awkward engagement. And that's one where I think if you've got most other traditional mages, there are very few that don't have anything that can go over walls in that instance.
Right.
You end up with a kill. Without one, it might be right to hold off.
So are you team bring the mages back to mid lane?
No, they're worse. There's no reason to do it. I think that hunters kill tanks more easily whenever they have these alt procs. Magical penetration comes at a different point in the build, and hunters can easily build Executioner third and end up, or Crusher, and end up being able to deal relevant damage. Mages struggle.
Horizon Union grouping up as 4 in the mid lane. Kraken will separate a bunch of people, and Fusify is separated from his team. Echrome gets one, but
What?
Dzoni answers back somehow. Not just one, not just two, not just three. It's going to be 4 as FaraKrik shows up on the end. Dzoni with a triple kill. FaraKrik puts a dot on it all. That Gold Fury comes. I'm at a loss for words. What the hell just happened there, right?
Welcome to the Dzoni Show, ladies and gentlemen. This is what Flashpoint is always designed to do. Feed the hot hand. And I've been fairly adamant that power set, that going for long-range poke with set before diving in all in has been the better option as builds. Dzoni is consistently stuck with his Blackthorn Hammer, sort of tanky in-your-face set. That was the highlight reel for tank set, for going Blackthorn early. No way Dzoni gets this done with a Transcendence. He gets in there, tons of extra HP, and ends up just crushing the opposition with an insane skewer.
I mean, that was... Let's just take a second look at it. This is all from Johnny's perspective. He comes over the wall, and he focuses the player on the outside. He's surrounded by New Jerseys here, Aggro, but look at the lifesteal that's provided to him by way of Kingslayer. Obviously, FaraKrik's second Whirlpool comes into play there. But that's just Dzoni understanding the numbers, trusting his health pool and the lifesteal, and full committing.
Yeah, Kali doesn't do that. That's why we banned the set instead of the Kali, by the way. I mean, Horizon Union must be thinking, hey, we're going to take this game to 50 minutes, and we don't want them having Kali. Set does similar things to you. I don't know. I just think it was a bad ban.
I'll agree with that. John is going to come over here and chase the ultimate out of Mr. Stefan. In fact, he's going to beat the devil out of him, too. Number 7 here for Flashpoint. Now that, no other character can do that to an ulting Jean Kui under their tower, I think.
Bakasur probably can. A lot of auto attackers, I think, can in that
Even
instance.
level?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Baka especially with true damage, but Arachne probably kills Jean Kui in that instance. I mean, auto attack assassins do much better against that character than the ability assassins who need to poke you out.
Shinsai comes to mind a little bit later. That we'll see it on Dzoni right now per the build. Got that Frostbound Hammer. Nobody's escaping the wrath of Set this time around at all. 6-0-1 so far, and like I said, everybody going to be slowed up. So you were talking about, you know, the power build versus tank build. This is just outright better in your eyes.
No, I mean, I think that...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put words in your mouth.
No, you're fine. I think that the power build is generally better. As Asti has to use the shell for trying to save a tower that he can't save. I think that Transcendence Pen is my preferred way to carry the games with Set. I mean, you can go with this sort of auto attack heavy, in-your-face tank style, and that fight on left side mid harpies is the whole kind of pitch for it. But I think that Skewer is probably Set's most insane ability. Obviously, Sandstorm is crazy. Kingslayer's nuts. You kind of have to have all of those abilities be nuts if you have so little CC and no CC immunity and very little mobility. At the end of the day, it's really just that Sandstorm teleport, though it does go super far. I think you kind of need all those abilities to be really good, but Skewer with the Sand Clone will 60% carries through the mid game, and so it just feels like that's what I want to be leaning into a lot of the time. And might not work all the time, but when you get a lead, it feels really strong.
Terror feels really strong. Sibi gets soloed here. Oof. Police show up. Ultimate out of the support. Ultimate out of the mid lane. Ultimately, Terror goes home.
It's a big boon, though, for FaraKrik. I mean, he was down a good amount of XP, so he's going to get a pretty big bounty for killing Terrorem in that instance. Obviously not ideal to lose Sibi there. Even through Sibi's horrific emblem, it looks like Flashpoint's going heavy on the slows. I mean, 2 Frostbound Hammers. Osiris slows the character, and now a horrific emblem.
Hey, force your opponent into a sprint. Right now, not the greatest relic.
Still not horrible, though. I mean, I think it's probably a little bit underpurchased. Astia won't get Blink in that instance, which does feel bad for sure.
Yep.
But I feel like you need a sprint here if you're Horizon Union.
I agree. And I think the last point that you brought up is paramount. I'll agree. Yeah, we should probably see more than 0 sprints, but taking a blink away from a support player is a really big deal.
Sure.
So I like that. We'll see if Flashpoint do actually force that out of Horizon Union, if that's the case. Right now, we're 16.5 in. Flashpoint had 8 to Horizon Union's 3. It was all tied up pretty much until Dzoni killed 3 people with a 4-man wipe as FaraKrik followed up, and that winds up just continuing Flashpoint in their own direction. 5K above Horizon Union.
Horizon Union has stemmed the bleeding a little bit since then. I mean, it was a big jump for Flashpoint, but Horizon hasn't lost a lot of buffs on the back end of it. They haven't lost too many towers or anything like that. Yes, Sibi or Dzoni is huge right now still after that kill, but he got a triple. That's what you expect. At this point, Horizon Union is still in contention for this Fury, but I don't think you can really afford to roll over and let Flashpoint take it.
Completely agree. This is the 5K, I think, is 5 to 7K is usually my limit. 5K is the limit that I'm comfortable with, kind of pushing the enemy team against the objective, and 7K is if I really feel like I'm being pressured. This is the call that I love, though. Way far out zoning and take the surprise objective on the back line. Horizon, you need to pick up the Primal Fury, and if they only lose one, it's a good fight in my opinion. Kespainify and the squad trying to catch up. Echrome and Terrorem walk into the scrum. I don't know if I like that call, but here comes the damage from Zhong. More damage from Dzoni. Down goes Echrome, and down goes Mr. Stefan as the team dives the tier 2 tower. And since we're here, we'll grab a big chicken. Down it goes, and Flashpoint sit up 6K, even with Horizon Union taking the Gold's Fury, and they're going for a Phoenix.
Sibi gonna teleport in, so he's full HP and ready to go. Terrorem knocked off, but still in a bit of trouble.
This is the right play for Horizon Union. They can get a kill or 2 here if the Najah plays it well. He's got the build. Some of the penetration on that beat stick will come into play. 50% on the bird so far. Terrorem spinning all around on the carry. Beautiful knock up here. Astyaniax able to find the root, but not enough, man. Horizon Union defend the Phoenix. I won't fault Flashpoint for going that aggro, but...
A little close, for sure. I mean, Asti does a good job of defending on the Terra. Markus kind of goes in and gets Fusify, but instantly dies. Markus is at the point where he's a non-factor anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Horizon Union defend the Phoenix, which is the most important part, but end up losing quite a bit in the form of that tier 2 tower. A couple of kills go Flashpoint's way. At this rate, it may have been better to just let Flashpoint take the Primal Fury. They lost too much on the back end.
Yeah, you know, I still really liked that play, because that was when you're down 5,000 and they zoned so far, right? They're zoning all the way in the mid lane. If you're zoning where we usually see players zone right outside of that little semicircle for the Gold Fury, I think that's where you're kind of playing with fire and inviting the opponent in. Horizon Union went to Flashpoint's house to hold the door closed, essentially. And that's the play that you have to make. I'm going to double down and say that was the right play. You're down 5K, you look for but you've got to get out of there faster. Terrorem kind of re-engaged the second time. I think in an effort to help his teammates, sure. There was just it wasn't as clean of an ejection as I would have liked.
They just don't have great objective burn, but with the Zhong. I mean, Zhong does a lot of things really well. Objective damage just realistically is not one of those things. So you don't have the traditional sort of Kronos or something over there in the long lane that we've seen a lot of. Hurts.
Terrorem on the back line for FaraKrik. Nice ultimate to avoid the Kraken itself, and Sibi's going to suffer the consequences. Horizon Union pick up kill number 5 as they take down the solo. Dzoni, of course, going to deal with Mr. Stefan, and still surrounded by enemy jerseys, not a care in the world. Markus lands down, and Dzoni switches targets. Down goes the jungler. Down goes Echrome, the middle laner. Ooh, baby, a triple. Dzoni with the second triple of the game. Anya going to go down. A quadra kill, baby. Dzoni, 11-0-4, and he's on the run.
He's going for Terrorem, but I think it might be a little bit too late for the official Penta at this stage. Fusify gonna take it up and make it unofficial. No, Dzoni doesn't have the skewer cooldown. Bit unfortunate there. Love the attempt. They didn't need him anyways. They got the tier 2 tower. Yeah, we ban set around here, fellas.
Yeah.
That is what we do, and it's not because we just don't like seeing him for some reason. We don't like losing to him, and that's why a lot of teams have been banning this character. 11-0-4. And honestly, Tom, I can't think of a worse player to let it through for.
For real. Like, even... Oh, man. Johnny, ladies and gentlemen. 16-5. 15 of those kills have Johnny's name on it. 15 of 16.
Yeah, if Johnny had
kills.
0 kills, Horizon Union would be up 5-4.
2 separate multi-kills here. We've seen a triple kill and then the quadra kill after the fact. And for what it's worth, could be 2 quadras. I think FaraKrik kind of snatched it with the tick of the whirlpool. I'll be straight up, Ryan. I like watching it.
Yeah?
It's fun. I mean, Set is an explosive character. I think you did a good job of highlighting the negative aspects of this character. It has to be this rambunctious because, I mean, if Johnny is 0-4-0, there's nothing that he's doing, right? Problem is, he's not. FaraKrik pops the super on top of the support, and Anya will go down again to the hand of Johnny. That's a dozen. Wrapping around the other side, Johnny dodges, weaves, and Markus is going to be turned into a certain death. Kespainify falls as well, and Flashpoint continue. Push up forward.
Yeah.
Liam Phoenix under attack. Is that it?
That's probably it. I mean, no sprint for Astia. He went with the blink. And then Sibi just waltzed in, got the Lord of the Afterlife to hit a 4-man Horrific Emblem. You don't win fights with a 4-man Horrific Emblem that you don't have a way to cleanse.
Horrific Emblem is a long, long slow. Seconds feel like, in the middle of a team fight, if we can take a look at a Horrific Emblem real quick, in the middle of a team fight, a simple second can feel like an eternity. Yeah, you're talking 5 seconds. 5 seconds in a team fight being slowed by 30% feels like 5 minutes.
Yep.
It's just incredible.
Oh, you also attack with 25% less attack speed, and you also do 15% less damage. That whole time.
It's baby Oleron.
Really good. It's really good, and that's why a whole meta was defined by it for a long time in the duo lane. We are away from the duo lane, but Horrific Emblem, when you don't buy Sprint, is very difficult to combat.
Still, by the way, 18 out of 19 kills belong to Johnny. Just saying. Just saying. And of course, kind of akin to what I was bringing up earlier, Johnny is absolutely the star on this team. He's the guy that's going to get the spotlight and the headlines. But take a look at the people surrounding him. 15 out of 19 kills, Kespainify. 16 out of 19 kills, FaraKrik. 17, 0-2 and 17. My God, that's a beautiful Geb slash line. Flashpoint's players know exactly what they need to do to find the win. And most of the time, that's support Johnny like this. You take a look at the player damage, Kespainify 5,000 less than Johnny. I mean, they're still contributing. They're absolutely doing what they need to do. But if Johnny can just solo the team, why not pop a Horrific on one end, drop a Whirlpool on the other, lean back, and say, what's good, Johnny? Like, why not do that?
Maybe I didn't feel like winning today.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only reason I can come up with, because otherwise, first pick Johnny's set and relax.
Sibi up here talking to Frankie. Jumping on back. It's been popped by Echrome. Nice defensive set here from Horizon Union. Middle lane, Phoenix, the only one down. Right side, Bird, 50%. Johnny looking for the flank, spotted out. Walks away. Sibi will back to base, has the teleport, so an extra life here. Just like that. Right side one more time. Flashpoint will aggress. Some nonsense as the Terra pops the ultimate, but here comes Johnny on the backside. Playing carefully with Markus, more carefully than you might expect. There's the grab, and now the damage off the top. Markus skis away. Now Johnny just handling 2 separate players at the same damn time. Down goes Mr. Stefan. The Johnny damage still coming out. FaraKrik the target from the King Arthur, but the damage going in the other direction. Sibi taking the tower, the Titan, rather. 2 players still around, but that's going to be it. Flashpoint take game number 1 off of the back of their jungler.
Yeah, when you whiff a Cataclysm because you tried to blink and it messed up, and then you still insta-win the team fight because Johnny kills 2 people, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Here's some free advice for Horizon Union. Ban set game 2.
Just do it. Just get rid of it.
Just ban it.
You know, something I do want to touch on to celebrate kind of the teammates of Johnny real quick is how important it is that these guys buy into the mindset.
Sure.
FaraKrik on any other team is a star, and I'm screaming his name instead of Johnny's, and I think you can say the same for a lot of the other guys on this team. But trying not to outscore Pele, trying not to outscore LeBron James is a big deal. Just going, all right, man, Johnny, just do it. You got to buy into that mindset. Flashpoint find themselves up 1-0. We'll be right back with game 2.
Nice shirt.
Thanks, man.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the SMITE Minor League.
Things go a bit as expected, at least if you only take a look at the standings. Flashpoint come away on top in that first game. So thanks for joining us back here at the minor league. Really, though, a bit of a quiet game from our junglers, I would say. A bit surprised that we didn't see anybody really in the jungle role have a particularly large impact here in this game. So I guess we have to look elsewhere to try and find some analysis to break it down. I'll bring in Anatoly a little bit here to talk to you about maybe the side lanes or something like that for what was the big catalyst here this game.
Yeah, we'll talk about the side lanes, right? Not the 14-0-6 Johnny on the set, obviously.
Not even 100% kill participation, man. Why even bother?
1 kill off. Just 1 kill shy of that 100% kill participation. But outside of Johnny, getting a lot involved was FaraKrik and Fusify, setting up the kills. I think Fusify's positioning was crucial towards the success of Johnny. That one team fight where Johnny gets a triple kill around that 11.5-minute mark, Fusify starts things off very well. And then the patience coming through from Johnny to flank the way a jungler should gets him that triple kill.
You know, it's so interesting to me, man. I've heard a lot of people say, a lot of pros say to me, they think that the set might be the most valuable god right now that you can draft. That's how much he can take over games, and you put it in Johnny's hands, and he's just going to do things like this.
He basically sacrifices Fusify to get the Kingslayer off, goes in the backline, almost gets a quadra kill here as FaraKrik steals that away, but he gets a quadra kill later down the road at the 20-minute mark, and this is a one-fed Johnny sitting on Blackthorn's Warrior Tablet, Frostbound Hammer, by the way, with Stone Cutting Sword and a Tier 2 Bloodforge. Johnny just couldn't be stopped.
Yeah, it was like all on-hit proc effect items. I actually really liked this build pathing that Johnny took in this game. I just don't know how many more times that Johnny has to play games like this before we just start saying that he's the best individual player in the minor league right now. And I think that unless you're doing something to stop him, you're very likely going to lose the game. And I know they did. They banned the Kali to start this game off. They banned the Ao Kuang, but I think that I would have been happier if it had been Ao Kuang set along with that Olorin Ben instead of that Kali.
I agree. I think Kali is great, obviously, especially in the hands of Johnny, but it's more of a late game pick than that early to mid game presence. I mean, what other level 10 jungler was able to do what Johnny did in that team fight? I don't think Kali would have brought that same kind of impact.
Yeah, not that early in the game. Now, obviously, from here, it's easy to say switch one ban around. That changes a lot of things. I don't think that it changes a ton about the way that the game goes. Obviously, once you get in, you have to do more to try and make sure there's not opportunities for Johnny to just steamroll over you, but He's been doing it now for so long that I'm sure if the other teams could, they would. Horizon Union this time will be the first pick as we move to the picks and bans for game number 2. Ao Kuang is yet again banned against Dzoni and the Kali, and they don't have to ban the set this time because their first pick they could always take.
That's true, but I still think that no matter what Dzoni gets, he's still going to just do the thing. But we have to take into consideration what his other teammates were able to do that game. I think Fusify, like I mentioned in that team fight, sacrificing himself, all the abilities of the Zhong Kui basically were used already. Naja was basically depleted of resources. There was no counter engage once Dzoni did go in, and that was the patience that you want out of your jungler to play cleanup. And with Kingslayer giving you that mobility, the lifesteal, giving you more clones so that your skewer can pop off. Basically, the stars aligned for Dzoni in that one team fight.
Yes, it was a pretty bad team fight that I think probably put things a bit out of reach anyway, because Dzoni plays the lead so well. Yet again, though, the set's banned by Flashpoint here this time. It's Ola, Kali, and Ao Kuang from Horizon Union in first position, but that means that the Isis slips through, and this might actually be a bit of a problem for Flashpoint. Isis is right there next to Set in my mind in terms of just how much control they can have over a game, especially early. Too much damage, too much control, and objective secure, forget about it. No way you're contesting Isis.
Hard to really deal with the Isis because of the new changes, because of the shield that she gives to her teammates after the silence. I think a good way to deal with her is something that SK were trying to do when Sanford Soccer was playing the Cabrakan jungle. That's a good way to burst her down. And if you can't really burst her down, you can at least trap her inside the cove. So Flashpoint might be going that direction.
That could be potentially strong for them, but they're going to go back to 2 picks that did very well. And we touched on this point a bit before the set started, that even if you do spend a lot of time banning out Dzoni, there's a lot of really good players around him still too.
Yes.
And that's what we saw last game, right? Like you were mentioning with Fusify on the Geb, which he has again. Sibi's back on this Osiris yet again. So they still have some really strong comfort picks here that I think you can't celebrate just yet if you're Horizon Union.
I agree. And also the Poseidon pick was just such a good pick in general.
You talked about it, yeah.
The King Arthur, Cernunnos, the Terra, like it was difficult to reposition against the Poseidon, and I don't want to see a Horizon Union fall into that same trap.
Well, they have picked the King Arthur here, who was part of that problem, and I know that we often think of the cripple as being good into people with mobility that you want to try and cut off, but it's also good to people who don't have mobility because they can't, they don't have any ways to reposition or try and get out of there. Sometimes you can get out before that first tick hits you, and they don't even have that option, so it could certainly still be strong here as Morrigan comes in for Flashpoint. And likely this is for FaraKrik, but I mean, this has some options to move around into a bunch of different roles.
Kespainify in the long lane could pilot this goddess. We've seen other SPL players and even minor league players play that to great success. It's one of these kind of kill potential lanes. Like you have to be fully aware. If you don't have vision, you can easily stealth in the jungle from far away. And with that 6-second duration, especially with a little bit of mobility on top of it, you can get the stun, go for the Dark Omen, and a lot of poke.
That's right. You could, and because of that, you can miss out on that initial sound cues.
Yes.
It gives you the idea that you're going to be in some trouble. So as you said, that's what going into the jungle can do for you with Morrigan in that 1v1. Let's take a look at some of these bans now. Fafnir and Naja taken off for Flashpoint. And this makes some sense. Clearly, the Naja is something that was comfort for Markus, so you don't want him to go back to this pick here yet again. They take that away. Along with the Fafnir, maybe worried that the Muzen Cobb paired with that would be too much basic attack push.
So something that Horizon Union also banned away, I'm surprised that they didn't select the Thor. A Thor and an Isis is like great synergy together with a long range setup, the all-in potential between both of their ultimates, but instead they probably have a different idea in the jungle.
This Morrigan pick gets better the more other good picks come through. 2 Gebs could be great late game. Double Chernobog for some quick rotations. Fear No Evil is a huge cooldown for Horizon Union, but it also becomes a potentially huge cooldown for Flashpoint now as well. So the more high value picks that you end up adding, the more potential you give over to this Morrigan pick as well, as I think this Chernobog could make some nice early rotations.
I think Horizon Union are looking for ways to pop those beads with the Isis, the Hunbats, and even the Terra could do a good job in doing so, and King Arthur can definitely exploit the backline once those defensive relics are no more. But if Flashpoint are prepared, this Geb shield can easily save those targets. So I'm looking at Horizon Union being able to get some multi-targets on their abilities. Get a Fear No Evil on Geb +1.
Yes, make sure that the Geb can't be there to cleanse him on the back end. I love this Ratatoskr, though. I was just thinking they're going to need someone who can dive that backline well enough to get to this Muzen Cobb. Osiris likely can do some of that, but before the Osiris is there, probably a lot of that pressure is going to be on Dzoni to make sure that AMC is not free cast.
And it's going to be double Ratatoskr with a Morrigan.
That's right. Good luck dealing with those rotations. Let's get it back down to the green boys, Tom and Aggro.
Here we are, the green boys.
Tom, what's your favorite color?
going to make fun of me.
Go ahead.
Brown.
First of all, I was going to go in a completely different direction, but now I have to stop and make fun of you.
Yeah.
Here's the deal.
Listen.
Green's my favorite color, so back off. All right.
Well, see, this is like an earth green, which is related to brown. I was going to wear a brown tie with it, but I didn't.
I see.
I've been hanging out with Fawn a lot.
I also see that we've a lane switch here with this game. Kespainify goes mid with the Chernobog. FaraKrik over to the long lane with the Morrigan. This is where these characters are in the meta right now. A lot of Chernobog mid, a lot of Morrigan in the long lane. May as well put them where they excel. I don't hate it.
I like it.
I don't hate it. That's as far as I'll go.
I like a team that's flexible. After this win, I'll tell you how much I like it. But I think it's important, specifically in this metagame right now, where we have these long lane swaps or whatever. I am less in love with what some of the Pro League teams have done, made it a permanent swap. I think you need to, right now, I think it's best to identify the strengths of your players. You know, Morrigan probably worked out better in the long lane than the mid lane. Hey, who's the better Morrigan player out of us two? Let's make it work. Having that flexibility, I think is very, very good.
I agree. I think that being able to switch it up is not necessarily a bad thing at all. Just a bit of a risk inherent. And if I'm Johnny or Markus, I'm spending a lot of time in this long lane trying to put pressure on these mages. But Mr. Steffen's playing a mage that's very hard to put pressure on right now. I don't know what Flashpoint and Horizon Union have against banning what I think are the two best characters in the entire game right now, which are Isis and Set. But they really don't like it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, Horizon Union at least get the Isis.
This is like in scrims when you go, hey, we should try and practice with and against these characters. So we'll let you get one really OP pick game one, and then we'll get the really OP pick game two.
Right.
Like that's a scrim thing. This is a real game.
Well, that's Flashpoint out here just saying the real games are scrims to them. They're wearing sunglasses as they say that.
Oh, are they?
These are some cool guys. I was actually excited to see them here for the mid-season invitational. Staples of the minor league for sure. And yet we rarely, if ever, really get to see them at LAN, get to know these guys. And so I think the mid-season invitational was really interesting to kind of like, you know, sit down and chat with them, but also just have them on camera, let the fans, you know, see who and what they are and what they're able to bring. I value that sort of interaction, especially with a team that's been around this long. Horizon looking for the wraparound here on Fusify, Kespainify. And Fusify in trouble. Overhand smash. That's first blood for Markus.
Don't know all about that path in there from Fusify. I mean,
A little rough.
Kespainify had the right idea. Let's not run at the AMC. Fusify did not have that same idea. Ran at the AMC.
Yeah, it was a little rough.
Ended up getting first blooded for it.
I hear Kespainify in that play. I hear Kespainify going, brother, where are you going? Brother, don't go that way. Oh no, brother, you've died. Like, that's not... Yeah, you know, that's just an oops mistake. That's one that, you know, it's funny, I am much more willing to forgive that mistake as long as it comes singular than larger mistakes, because that's just a brain asleep. Johnny dashes away here from Markus. Sometimes you sneeze, you know what I mean? That's, as long as that doesn't happen again, I'm like, Fusify, forget it. It is a first blood, and that is more impactful than I'd like it to be. But that is something that you can kind of just shove under the bed and forget about, so. Interesting here, though, watching Fusify Kespainify. This is a dual lane that has been together for ages, and now they've got to kind of change their synergy, not between themselves, but in the lane here. Because, I mean, ask any high-end player, the lane different, the scenario in each lane is extremely different.
Astia in a bit of trouble, but still has that dash. Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you just have a lot of different things to worry about in mid than you do in the long lane.
A whole nother side.
Yeah, it's really that the long lane is super easy and the mid lane is not. So that's where I am, at least.
Unbiased.
Right, that's me.
Yep.
Actually, no, I'm not even going to pretend to be unbiased. But stop me when I'm wrong. There's a whole other side.
You know what? I am here for it as a, you know, I completely agree with you. I think the mid lane has a lot going on, and you've got to have your head on a swivel. By the way, just a side note, biased, bias ED. That's not right. It's biased.
Yeah, I saw this tweet from you the other day about this, and
it's a pet peeve of mine. And
you know what? You know what mine is of the same vein. It's when people say I could care less, meaning I couldn't care less.
Right.
That drives me crazy.
Because if you could care less,
then like.
That's what you're trying to say.
Right. It's the opposite of what you want.
That's
to be
uninteresting. So I could care less than I do right now. In fact, I do. As opposed to the other way around. Fusify certainly wants to care about getting out of here, but he's going to need some intensive care as Markus again puts him down. Positioning again, not the greatest look for the support.
No, this AMC has been able to put out a lot of damage onto the Geb in the early game, something that he's probably not used to taking this much early on, and this opens up a Fury, but FaraKrik can transform into the Rat. Needs to do it sooner rather than later.
And it's later. Wraps around. Isis is probably going to be good enough. The Gold Fury's popped, but here comes Friends. Double knockup coming out from the jungler, Dzoni. Fear No Evil is huge, and Markus picks up Dzoni, and FaraKrik turns it around with the answer back from Anya. Not there.
FaraKrik, stealth, still. Oh, missed the Dark Omen, I think, but
Fusify, get
shouldn't
him,
matter.
get basic. Mr. Stefan walks away. Messy.
So, I mean, you got, what, 3 there? Or no, Echrome did survive. So 2 kills there from Flashpoint in exchange for an early Fury. That's not too bad. I just don't like FaraKrik's decision to be so patient with that ultimate. I mean, why toss the Dark Omen through the wall, let them know you're there, let them set up that circle of protection? I think if you get in there and cause a little bit more havoc, it makes it so that Dzoni isn't quite as scared. You can use that dunk. Markus is likely going to Fear No Evil right away because he's got it in his head that Ratatoskr doesn't have beads this game, so I'm just ulting him if he lands. But it's not Dzoni with no beads, it's FaraKrik who does have them. I don't know. You give up your element of surprise by playing it that way, and I still think that that's Morrigan's best trait.
Completely wholeheartedly agree. I think there's a world that Flashpoint not only get the objective, but get the team fight afterwards. That seemed uncharacteristically disjointed. That's the terminology I'm going to use from Flashpoint. We usually see it cleaner. Sibi's going to get eaten here on the right side. Perfectly positioned is the support. 4-1-0 for Markus here. A sleepy game number 1. The alarm has gone off here for Horizon's jungler. The Monkey absolutely making an impact here, level 9 to Johnny's level 8. And it's kind of an opposite of what we saw in game number 1. Dzoni ran the show, jungler led Flashpoint to victory, and here, Horizon Union, Markus is leading the show, jungle leading them to victory, Dzoni barely alive, Echrome comes from the left and finishes off what Markus has started.
Beautifully done. Markus is able to set that up and now might be able to find Fusify as well, but Kespainify going to rejoin. Sibi's teleported back in, and Markus is in a lot of trouble.
No ultimate available for him either. Dodges the hit out of Sibi. Here comes Fusify with the rollout and the blink and the punch. 2 kills for the Geb by way of basic.
We love to see that. Terrorem is still chasing down Kespainify, who's trying to get back towards his team, but that's where the entire enemy team is as well. Mr. Stefan all the way from the duo lane. How does he beat FaraKrik there, man? I mean, I'd be very, very displeased if the Isis beat by Morrigan, who can transform into the Ratatoskr over to the fight by my blue buff.
You're getting a tier 1 tower.
Sure. In the tier 1 tower. It's just a tier 1 tower, but I don't know. It's a fight that lasts too long anyways. Dzoni without the beads has been a liability so far. Markus has really been able to punish him nicely.
Yeah.
Markus, I mean, Batz is his best character. We've seen him around the SML before. This is a priority pick for him without a doubt. And Flashpoint are certainly feeling the reasons why.
I think it's really tough to go into a Batz or an Ares without beads. I understand as a jungler wanting the blink, and after game number 1,
got his dash.
You can be hot as hell. Dzoni here again getting poked out by Markus. I get it. Like I said, especially after game number 1, how dominant you were. You gotta beat the Fear No Evil though. It's real rough. Horizon Union taking care of business here. 3,000 gold up versus Flashpoint. It almost seems like Flashpoint's Discord went down, and they're not talking. It feels disjointed was the word I used before, and I'm going to use it again, like you said. Non-rotation from FaraKrik, other players kind of late to the party, spread out. We saw how well Flashpoint collapsed on the enemy in game number 1. I can think of 3 separate instances off the top of my head where we saw FP just collapse on a single unit. Right now, it looks like they're spreading out more than anything else. Very uncharacteristic.
Fusify goes in, and he gets blown up right away, but this time FaraKrik is here on the rotation. Johnny's able to clean up one, and that's Echrome. Astia very low, but FaraKrik used the ultimate,
Nice
still hasn't been
shot.
able to use the rat version. Now he can get it working.
Beautiful plays here from Horizon Union. Flashpoint able to have their first team fight of the game, 2 for 1. Johnny makes it a 3 for 1. And Terrorem in the middle. Honestly, pretty healthy right now. Starts with Glad Shield. This is where he likes to hang out. Here comes Isis. Pop, pop. Down goes FaraKrik. And Terra's chilling. Flashpoint bite back, but Horizon Union still up.
Man, is there a single Flashpoint ward from all the way over in long lane to mid lane? Doesn't look like it. They've got one on top left side, but nothing on the bottom half, and so Mr. Stefan just walks over from the long lane and is able to impact that fight. You've got to have that mental timer that, hey, we know Isis is in long lane. We can wait it out. We can wait until, you know, she's clearing this wave, but we've got a window for sure. But, hey, this fight's been going on for a while. Isis could show up. Why are we trying to kill this half-health King Arthur? Just a definite overextension from Flashpoint in an otherwise very good fight.
That's where game feel comes into play. We talk a lot about that with high-end players, and you know that's something that's kind of difficult to convey on a broadcast. But you can feel when the players rotate. You're sitting there, and you basically just put yourself in their shoes, right? And you say, "I'd be here," and the ISIS shows up. Sibi kept at a distance, and so Pyromancer will go down easily to HU. Sibi on the run, jump on top, slow down all the way home. Number 11 here for Horizon, 6-3-2 for Markus. Johnny on the back line finally takes him down. Will he trade his life out is the question. Fusify's here with a shield. Johnny dashes to the right, gets greeted by a stinger, can't dash, and can't make it home the safe way. Echrome puts kill number 12 on the board. We're eating Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of talking about this Isis pick, and how I'm very surprised that Flashpoint is willing to give it up. How do you give up Isis and AMC at the same time? That's what's kind of crazy, and that's where this pressure is really coming from, is this AMC in the mid lane. Markus has been making very good plays. Without a character like Muzen Cobb in the mid lane to follow up, I don't know that they are getting this easy of fights going their way.
Fusify Agreston again gets hit with Stinger because Echrome's been able to pick it up every time. Mr. Stefan gets the kill off the back end and hasn't used the ultimate, so with Fusify down, only Fury is much as guaranteed here for Horizon Union. And Flashpoint, read the tea leaves, walk away, everybody back to their lane. Spiraling out of control. 14 minutes on the clock and everything in the direction of Horizon Union.
Yeah, I just don't think that Flashpoint's draft was good enough this game, and that's where this is a lot of this is coming from. I mean, Fusify's had a bad one for sure. His positioning has not been good. Sibi has been going in a little bit too early in these fights. That happened in game 1 as well, I thought, but they were far enough ahead that it didn't really matter.
Right.
It's going to matter here. I just don't think you can afford to give up Isis AMC and expect to have any sort of semblance of a good early game.
For me, I'm there with you, but it's more than that, and I am left confused. In all honesty, it is so wildly different from what we saw in game number 1. Picks be damned, you know. It's different play style. It's different outcome. Your picks will change the way you play the game, absolutely, but I just have not seen Flashpoint on the same page together again, like we saw in game number 1.
I mean, I agree, but a lot of that I do think is draft dependent.
You think it's all just draft?
Most of it, yeah. I mean, at some point you just become a victim to the numbers. I'm looking at Fusify kind of taking the bad pathing into mid lane for first blood, right? Like that.
I guess you could say that's a result of Echrome being on AMC and being, that aggressive. Maybe Fusify can do that against a different character that's not AMC. So I guess I can see that. Markus sees the middle lane for sure, drops the totem. Kespainify barely alive. B's not going to take him down. Ratatoskr deciding to play it safe. Falls back. 3 players here in defending tier 1. Echrome will get it no problem. Horizon Union still pushing forward. Tier 2 could be the target. We've got a nice wave here. Nice stuff. Fusify in the back line. In the front of his team. Dzoni looking for a flank. 14 is Dzoni, so we'll have an impact on some players, but not all. Not at all the lead he had like once upon a time. And Flashpoint are chasing off of the tier 2.
Sibi's still only level 13. Has got to be worried about Mr. Stefan, but sidesteps that Spirit Ball nicely.
Markus does not have the ultimate available. This is a good fight for Flashpoint if they want to take it. Nice heal coming out from the Isis, and here's the re-engage. 1 for the money and 2 for the show. Markus is going to go down to the Geb nonsense. 3 kills for Fusify. Flashpoint fight back a little bit. Where do they go from here?
Pyromancer's down, Fury's down. They could try and go for a tier 1 tower in mid, but just checking buffs I think is a much better idea. That's exactly what Johnny's going to do. Needs to be wary of Mr. Stefan. Good Spirit Ball. No dash for Dzoni, but really careful play there for Mr. Stefan.
Ping's coming out. I don't know what the voice line is exactly, but it almost sounded like he said, "That's me." Mr. Stefan with the turnaround. Fusify shows up, and Stefan will be put down. FaraKrik loses that duel, but Fusify kind of showing where he gets his gems from. Nice job.
That's huge for Flashpoint that they defend. FaraKrik is dead. That Aegis isn't going to do anything but delay the inevitable. Terrorem's got too many buttons to press in that moment. So that's good that they get FaraKrik on the respawn right now because Pyromancer's about to come up. Maybe this opens the door for Horizon Union a little bit. They have to be wary. I mean, they just overstay on that tier 2. They miss a couple of abilities underneath the tower. So they back it up, which is the right plan. But man, Flashpoint's gifting them a couple. I mean, now Sibi stays way too long on the enemy blue.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's just a bad decision.
That's not draft dependent. Like, what's going on here? Something's up with the Flashpoint points here in game number 2. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of taking it away from Horizon Union here. Nice steal for FP. Because Horizon Union are honestly just playing great Smite. Markus has been an absolute catalyst, and Echrome has been there every step of the way to capitalize. Terrorem has terrorized this solo side for sure. Everybody's playing really well. Mr. Stefan is on Isis. Sorry, I'm not going to give you a lot of credit. Jokes aside, Horizon Union has been playing fantastic, but I think it's column A and column B. This lead is only 2,000 gold, and I'm honestly surprised at that.
Me too.
Flashpoint, I assumed it'd be like larger.
I agree. Flashpoint, I mean, sealing that Pyromancer certainly helps. That takes it from a 3.5k deficit down to about 2. Fusify way ahead of the rest of the party.
And just murdered. Just murdered. He's alive for now, and Dzoni will take down Echrome. Maybe it's all a bait. Here comes the turnaround. Markus takes down Dzoni. So I'll put that bait call in my back pocket. Just again, very, very aggressive. And again, Flashpoint seemingly on multiple beats.
Kespainify,
Dead.
Standing there. I mean, obviously they're going to come. Yeah, I don't know. They're obviously going to come around that corner.
To the back line. FaraKrik in trouble. Takes damage. Stefan gets to the sky. Also, special thanks to Fusify again. Fusify might be the best playing player on the field right now for Flashpoint. And he's the one that walked his way to being first. I mean, he's had some fantastic plays to make up for it. But I absolutely remember where you started this one, Fusify. And those 3 kills, 2 of them were the get basic, which is always fun. But Flashpoint need to tie this one up. They need to tighten it up. That's the terminology I'm going to use. It's easy for me to say that. It's harder for Flashpoint to do that. But it's harder, perhaps, to figure out how. Dzoni here early. Horizon walks away.
Johnny just uses that ultimate as a deterrent. He's got so much CDR, 30% between the Jotuns and the Blackthorn Hammer. That's not a problem for him whatsoever. He won't be missing that ultimate cooldown too much, so not a problem. Make sure that Horizon Union don't end up getting an objective that you can't come back from, so good game sense there at least.
Yeah, I mean, that pull from Horizon Union is the alarm test, right? We'll see how they show up. They showed up, awesome. No problem. If Johnny doesn't ult there, Horizon might just take the fire. 20 minutes on the clock here. Horizon Union 2 shy of the clock. Flashpoint only 12. Still, only a 2,000 gold lead. Flashpoint have been playing the worst I've seen them play in weeks, to be frank. But still dancing here with Horizon Union. HU pull Primal Fury. FaraKrik sneaks up, hits FaraKrik, hits Echrome. Jumps up into the Ratatoskr, learns to jump on the back line, and Flashpoint playing aggressively. Echrome close to dead, but a huge Spirit Ball into Markus nonsense will set up 2 kills for Horizon Union. Echrome does fall down, but it's after he did all his damage, so nobody really minds. FaraKrik finds 1 stun, Markus gets him after the fact with the monkey. Left side, Johnny, right side, Fusify. Great target prioritization by Horizon to turn and burn onto Johnny.
Fusify now blinks in and goes, wait, never mind. Let me go, but they definitely won't let him. Won't find a get basic kill this time around, I don't think.
You sure?
Yeah, I felt pretty confident. That was at least 2 more. I mean, a great start to the fight by FaraKrik, but just not using the Morrigan properly, I don't think there. That's a situation where you don't want to be transforming into the same thing you've transformed into every single time. A Terra transformation in that instance is sick. It's just so good because you're right on top of the carries, and you would have hit the entire team with that Earth and Fury.
Stefan shouldn't be here. Johnny shouldn't be here. 23 kills for Horizon Union.
Spring is here.
Flashpoint does a good job of keeping HU off of the objective, I think. Even now, I don't think Horizon Union can do this cleanly. Mr. Stefan doesn't have Circle of Prot. Kespainify and Sibi are local. Markus comes around the back line and will delete Kespainify. That's good enough to create space for the Primal Fury. Well done by the jungler. 24 for Horizon Union. More kills than minutes in this game.
Markus has just played so well. 10, 5, and 6. He's in double digits now in the kill category, and his build is all about being able to use that ultimate all the time, max CDR, but also a ton of damage on top of that with the Jotuns, the Hydras, and the Transcendents. This is a great spot for Horizon Union to be in. They just have to keep it going and hope that Flashpoint keep giving them a couple of these opportunities, because I agree with you. I think Flashpoint really has left the door wide open and then given us the shocked Pikachu face when they get robbed.
It's uncanny. I don't understand what's going on. We'll have to see maybe after the game. Horizon Union setting themselves up for the Fire Giant. Heals and looks for the fights. FaraKrik down to 70% already, and we haven't even begun to bramble. Johnny on the back line gets hit by the ultimate out of Markus. Perfect timing! And Echrome capitalizes, putting down the jungler. Mr. Stefan the target. FaraKrik turn and burn again. Markus up top, takes care of Kespainify. And Sibi locked and dropped. Mr. Stefan, 4, 2, and 10. All right, I'll give you credit now. You're killing it, man. Double kill for Mr. Stefan. And the Fire Giant on the target, on the menu. It's what's for dinner.
Should be a couple towers to go alongside it. Markus and Mr. Stefan's efforts are not needed on the objective, as they've got nothing to worry about. Flashpoint's fight just so split up. I mean, they do a good job of funneling everyone from Horizon Union in on top of each other. But then Mr. Stefan drops the Circle of Protection, but they're still going in on top of that instead of just waiting that duration out. They aren't being patient around that Isis ultimate at all. Flashpoint just, I mean, Kespainify lands in it. He gets a Geb shield because he's going to take a bunch of damage from it, but Johnny desperately needed that Geb shield, which should be communicated going in that, hey, if I'm diving, I need shield for Fear No Evil. Doesn't get it because Kespainify needed it, and Flashpoint just end up falling apart at the seams.
Game number 1. Flashpoint wins largely off the back of Johnny. Yeah, we all saw the set quadra kills. Plural, sure. But realistically, game number 1 comes from the teamwork that you see out of Flashpoint. I highlighted how these guys all buy in. They all surround Johnny. They're absolutely there trying to deal damage as a team. There's levels of synergy that almost match what me and Ryan bring today with our wardrobe. Game number
Almost.
2, they're wearing 2 different shirts.
Completely. And you can't be wearing 2 different shirts, man. I mean, them's the rules. You cannot be doing that on a day-to-day basis. I don't know. I agree with you.
Serious note, you've been a player here before. I mean, where does a disconnect like this happen?
I mean, could be that some argument at the beginning of the game or something like that over a silly first blood or whatever can put you off your game. Could be some disagreements during picks and bans on, hey, we should have banned this, and oh man, I don't want to play against Isis in lane. All right, well, I'll go over there and play against it. And you know, first time you get spirit balled for half your health, you're like, I knew we should have banned this stupid character and all this nonsense. I don't know. I just feel like Flashpoint, individually down to every single player, has not played well in this game. And sometimes that's just what happens. The perfect storm.
Yep.
And you have to be able to just kind of shrug it off.
I've said this for, I think, 2 games all season. Surrender this. I think if I'm Flashpoint at this point, and again, they were close for the majority of it. We'll shelve the conversation for now as Anya getting aggressed on. Nice drop from Stefan to save the life of the support player. Sibi, half health by the Spirit Ball. Should have banned Isis. Backline, Johnny comes down and immediately dashes back home. Doesn't get there. Markus off of the damage from Echrome on the AMC. FaraKrik popped and jumped on. And a nice jump to avoid that one. Left side bird goes down. You're having a terrible game, but you're only down 2,000. You got to stick it out no matter what. Now at this point, 16,000 down. This is so uncharacteristic of a game. And Flashpoint have had more than enough time to think about game 3. Just end it, I think. It's just rough.
I mean, Sibi is so useless at this point. I mean, Osiris down to level 17 when the enemy support is level 19. Yeah, you're not getting a whole lot of mileage out of that pick right now.
I expect the surrender vote to go through, in all honesty.
I don't think it'll matter.
Yeah, the Titan's going to be aggressed on. Circle of Protection is dropped, as is Fear No Evil. Titan half 25, and that's going to be it. Flashpoint, drop the ball. Horizon Union pick it up and dunk it on them. Fantastic play from Horizon Union. 27-20 on the clock, and they just bring it home the way they're supposed to.
All right, so I gave a free tip to Horizon Union after the last game, so I should extend the same thing to Flashpoint here. Ban Isis, and don't let them get AMC and a top pick at the same time when you have the second pick. Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah, a little bit rough there. Like I said to Flashpoint, this is just a forget. I said it with the first blood. You know, you walk in a lane and it's just an oops. This game in general, just an oops. Great look for Horizon, though. We'll be back with the rubber match.
INAP, powering the control room for the SMITE Minor League.
keep saying it, the European SMITE Minor League is so close right now, all the way from the top to the bottom, and Horizon Union happy to prove it as they have a near dominant game here over Flashpoint. I got Anatoly Alexeyev right here next to me to help break it down. And for me, it's just that Sibi kind of got cyberbullied this game. There was so much focus on that solo lane.
A lot of blue buff invades on top of this. I love the way Terra was able to play the King Arthur, ending the game at 6-0-18, 24 kills of 30 total.
Absurd.
80% kill participation. Really solid stuff coming out of him. And it's a lot of just the rotations here. We even saw the Terra support there.
Yeah.
Mr. Stefan was present. They made it a focal point to shut down Sibi, and they were successful.
Now, obviously, giving away Isis and a Muzen Cobb over to the opposite team is going to make things difficult for you. Those two gods are both priority picks right now, and those carries played around it the way that you would have expected to. But I think that Horizon Union, even more than just the picks, just played this map really well this time. You talked about the focus on the soul lane, about stealing those blue buffs away, about playing around this Funo even from Markus quite well as well. I mean, Flashpoint had nowhere to go on the map, it felt like, for farm.
I think like ever since that first blood early on onto Fusify, there wasn't much comeback potential for this game, unfortunately. There was great rotations of Markus rotating to that soul lane like you were pointing out, and that's what Batz does. It also helps the fact that Flashpoint weren't successful in some of the Ratatoskr ultimates from Dzoni, diving a little too deep, FaraKrik trying to clean up as well, and so many low health targets were running away from Horizon Union. And this is a team that, despite them being low in the standings, you can't really count them out. Despite how dominant Flashpoint are, you will get punished.
You're exactly right, man. Horizon Union just grabbed a big win last week, so clearly they're capable of it if you don't play correctly. And I'm not saying that you should plan to lose, but I do think you kind of hit on a point there when you said there's not much comeback for this whole team. If they're behind by even like 4 or 5k gold, there's not a lot that draft does in particular, like how Odin Cage always cages whether or not you're behind or those sorts of things. It definitely felt like they relied a lot on being at least even or a bit ahead.
They definitely relied on the Chernobog Living Nightmare. That didn't really make any presence felt. I think that could have been a little bit of a more aggressive pick in the laning matchup, something that Kespainify not always known for, going for the Jing or the Chernobog, but still not a bad pick, I think, overall.
Not bad at all. Isis and a Muzen Cobb for Ben. I like this from Flashpoint. Clearly not letting the same thing that happened to them last game happen here again. If you're Horizon Union, though, don't lose focus on your bans. Remember that set from Game 1? That was such a dominant force. I think you got to ban that here again in their final slot, or Dzoni will just pick it up. Also, you can't allow for Fusify's Geb to be a big facilitating factor and keep him comfortable, too. But they want to worry about it this time. They ban all 3 of them directed towards Dzoni.
Well, where do they go now is the real question. Kronos is open. Thor, if Flashpoint wants to lean on that direction. Zhong is another good point. I think you can never really go wrong with Osiris for Sibi again, but recognizing that the AoE damage is really good with the flexibility where you can put the Zhong.
Yeah, give a chance for Kespainify potentially to have a strong game, or Sibi, whichever one of those that you want to hand it off to, I think could play it quite well. Now we move over to Horizon Union, and there's still a ton of good stuff that's out there. You already mentioned the Thor, Erlong Shen's come to mind too. No Kepri, but maybe want to grab the Geb or something like that early as Morrigan comes in for Horizon Union. It struggled a good bit for Flashpoint last game. I mean, I don't know any other way to describe it. So maybe Horizon Union can give it a better run.
Possible. We'll see how that starts off. Terra, good defensive selection here. Good way to mitigate some of that Zhong damage. Normally you want to pick on Osiris right away to deal with the Zhong, but Terra can serve similar purposes.
Yeah, I am a bit surprised I didn't want to grab it, but it looks like there won't be any punish for it. Flashpoint want the King Arthur for Sibi, and I suppose that makes sense. He has really enjoyed this pick here lately. Along with the Zhong that gives us some clarity. This will very likely be the Zhong going to Kespainify now, so it's still jungle, mid, and support they're waiting on, and no longer support, they'll grab the gap.
Yeah, after Terra's performance in that last game, I think stripping away the King Arthur, not a bad idea from Flashpoint, respecting that soul lane presence. But now you're given the option of the Osiris lock-in to mitigate even more damage of the Zhong.
They're going to take the Bots, and I think this is actually a really good call. For me, it was Markus and Terrorem in particular that really dominated that last game. Great calls with the Fear No Evils, as well as obviously the King Arthur just getting ahead. So get that back. They are missing that solo lane presence, though. I think Flashpoint can kind of tee off on banning 2 solo laners here from Terrorem, and you don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely banning Osiris, and I'm also maybe banning away the Achilles.
I agree.
Trying to take away any sort of execute, as that's a very aggressive pick. Or maybe you're banning away something that'll synergize with the Batz to burn out the beats. I'm looking at gods like Tyr, maybe the Jormungandr as well.
Yeah, Jormungandr could also be another good good potential ban, especially in a world where they already likely have who's going into the long lane for Kespainify. You don't want him necessarily to pick up Jing here and then build in some crit, which could be good into the Jormungandr. As Horizon Union say all 5 bans for Dzoni here at this point, man. Alcon, Kali, Set, Daji, and Thor. You got to play something else, man. Looks like they're very okay with him playing the Ratatoskr again.
He also plays Susanoo at a very high level.
Yeah.
Don't forget Bakasura is in his wheelhouse. He loves the basic attack junglers. The Awilish wouldn't be bad against the Hunbats that's reliant on that somersault, sometimes for the engages or the disengage.
Good call on the Jormungandr. That's where Flashpoint's heads were as well. This Chernobog is coming back out again, and this is surprising me again. It was not particularly inspired to me. There's very few hunters taken off the board. You can play on her still at this point. You can play the Hoyis and some of these other gods that have been doing really well. I just don't know why they're prioritizing this pick so much.
I think it's the fact that you could just wild hunt the Geb and put him into the little piggy form. He can't do really much, and maybe blow him up before he comes back.
Yeah, get rid of the Geb shield early, or potentially the Cataclysm that hasn't already been used. Certainly some merit to that. As Thanatos comes out for Dzoni, this is the most risk-reward type thing that you could do, right? It's all high-end or complete failure, it feels like, from a Thanatos. There's none of that in between. We'll see if it works for them here as they secure the execute on their side.
I mean, look at all the AoE damage. Zhong, Poseidon, King Arthur can spread that damage even. You know, blink Cataclysm from the Geb. Thanatos is going to have a field day with that Hovering Death. Or you could engage with a Hovering Death and then have a Kraken waiting underneath.
Someone's likely to be an execute threshold, though, right? With this team comp that Flashpoint's drafted, so I think the Santos makes some sense. Guan Yu comes in for Horizon Union, and I imagine this then must be for Terrorem. They waited a long time for his pick, and he comes down to the Guan Yu. Very interesting. We'll see if that healing will be enough, or if the executes will come through from Dzoni. It's time for Game 3.
Tied at one apiece here. Flashpoint and Horizon Union both trying to do it. Top and Aggro still on the call. Doug still on the camera. And FaraKrik not still in the long lane. And I think a lot of Flashpoint fans are probably happy about that. Look, I don't think that the lane swap, the position change, was the reason for that last one. But when things go that badly, when things go that poorly, I think you just reset. Go back to the drawing board, see what used to work, give Dzoni a hyper early game carry, put everybody back in their old positions, and go ready, set, go.
Agreed. I think that's totally fine. I would have liked to see Flashpoint put Dzoni on the late game hyper carry that he usually does so well with. I mean, there was still Bakasura.
Right.
That's a pick that he's liked quite a bit. This Thanatos selection can work, but I don't know. You just gave him the early game character to try and let him snowball. Didn't work. I don't know how much I like going back and trying the exact same thing again.
Sure. I honestly would have liked, if Thanatos was selected game number 2, I would have liked a lot better. I think Thanatos is actually not the strongest character, but eats Isis, surprisingly. And so with that in mind, we don't see it. That's 2 myth sites. Mr. 1, you better run. Dzoni in trouble. Damage out of Markus. Echrome here, not enough follow-up. So Dzoni and FaraKrik kind of losing this duel when they left a couple of kills on the table, in all honesty.
I mean, Thanatos is just a character that we haven't seen for a while. He's fine. You know, he's the same character he's always been.
Yep.
You hit enough death scythes, you have a chance to win the game that is increased.
Sibi right now has a chance to make it out, but it's a pretty low chance, and Terra will make sure it's a 0% chance. The Guan Yu gets first blood, and Horizon Union, the first team on the board for the 2nd game in a row.
This is, I mean, this is both of these teams kind of defaulting back to SPL meta from literal months ago, where the junglers go speed to red, the supports sit in the short lane for a long time, but without a jungler rotating over to help you with blue, you're not picking things that really win the 2v2 super hard. I feel like this just doesn't do you a whole lot of good. With the Gebs in particular, I think the start where you start at speed, roll to red, pull it, tank it until your mid laner can get there, and set him up for a lot of early success is far stronger than what we've seen so far from these 2 teams.
Sibi tanking the blue buff. Nice try there from Anya. But the blue buff will be stolen, actually. A nice enough try to take it. And I thought she missed the collapse there on the stones. I didn't think she'd be able to find the dash through as well. But a nice look there. Mr. Horizon Union with an invade as well. Nice little look here for Flashpoint so far. Johnny, early game needs to get going. Right now, he's the target, dashed on by Echrome. And there's a sprint popped. Anya on the run. FaraKrik body blocked by his own teammate. And trouble abound, Blink on top. And Fusify trying to find the kill with the Geb basic. Can't do it, though. That said, Echrome, not dangerous enough.
A lot of close calls so far, but only one is actually going to make it work. Definitely just going to try and find the solo kill. Kespainify.
Ultimate's popped to provide some protections, but that's one of the most hard-hitting abilities in the damn game. The Guan charge, Johnny feared against the wall, trying to dodge and weave the basic attacks, and gets away a little bit, dodges the jump, here comes help.
Monkey toss is what Markus is looking for, but all FaraKrik has to do is go south.
Smart play, up top, Hunter gets him, Echrome, kill number 3, Johnny tumbles for the first time this contest.
Should have been a lot cleaner for sure. I think that Markus may have missed a monkey toss mid-Fear No Evil is what it looked like to me. It's a hard animation to spot, but pretty sure that's what happened. Either way, that's a guaranteed kill since Johnny doesn't have beads. He does go beads this game instead of the blink that he started off with the Ratatoskr. But we talk so much about playstyles and that kind of stuff, and
Sure.
Johnny's playstyle is he's a great opportunist. He plays like a true assassin. He finds the small windows and capitalizes on them very, very well. And Alquag is a character that lends itself to that. Boxer is a character that lends itself to that. Kali is a character that lends itself to that. So is Set. Thanatos is the first one in a lot of times. I mean, you have to, in the early game, you are dictating the pace of these fights. And I just don't think that it really vibes with Johnny's style so well.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think a lot of times you do get the Thor effect, where you are dictating the pace, you're going from lane to lane, ulting, especially early, you're ulting in on players. FaraKrik, I mean, almost looks like a mistake Kraken. Just.
I mean, if he hits the middle, Echrome gets really low, probably beads and dashes, and Johnny is close enough to ult stun him and siphon. But
That's rough.
that's a lot of trust that Echrome was going to have his eyes closed, you know?
Sure. Yeah, again, you know, FaraKrik just dropping the ball. And the reason I'm being so negative on Flashpoint is because we're so used to playing them such a different level of play. I mean, look at game number 1. Fusify gets eaten at his own red buff. The Thanatos can absolutely do what the Thor does, you know, initiating early game with the hovering death. You're not looking for executes early. You're looking for dunk, 1, combo, die, right? And you can do that. But Thanatos, I think one of the big parts about Thanatos outside of the execute is the passive, the waterfall. You can show up late in the team fight, death scythe one guy to heal yourself to full, kill him, get all your cooldowns back, soul reap the rest so they can't do nonsense, turn around, hit him again with the death. Like, there is that waterfall. I've been asking for Johnny Thanatos for a while. I think there is a vibe there. But I'm not seeing the early game, and I think that's where the disconnect is for me and me and the Thanatos Johnny pick, is that Thanatos is an early game monster and late game turns into more of a utility character. Not what we're used to seeing in Johnny. Get him an early lead on one of these characters that aren't supposed to have an early lead, and then he devastates you later on. FaraKrik lands the Kraken right there, for sure. But again, with the microscope on the jungle, we'll have to see how Johnny's able to kind of maneuver. We'll have to see how he builds. There's a lot of questions here. Right now, the team's separated by just 1,000 here, Ryan, maybe 1,500, give or take. But Flashpoint certainly need to make a statement.
Johnny immediately up into the ultimate, trying to preempt that Fear No Evil that may have been coming from Markus.
Definitely was coming from Markus, I think.
Yeah, that's fine, except the fact that it's
It's
still on
still
cooldown a little bit longer. It's coming up soon, though.
Red buff here for Horizon Union. Everybody collapses. Nice soul reap to silence it out. Chrome pops the ultimate, misses. Here comes Kespainify. Everybody getting hit by the nonsense out of the Zhong. Mr. Stefan chases out 2 to the right, now chasing 1 to the left. And the red buff invade successful from Horizon Union.
Asti in a bit of trouble, but not as much trouble as Fusify, as Fear No Evil back up right on time.
Do you re-engage here as Flashpoint?
No, you got no health, you got no cooldowns. You've already used basically everything you got. You might be able to pick up Echrome here. Death Scythe does land. I feel like it's the first one all game.
It is the first one. impact. Imagine that.
Yeah, that ability does a lot of damage.
Or it's like Heart Bomb or Old Chains as Ares. If you miss it, you are useless for a little while. 4 points in it means it's doing 310 plus 60% scaling plus 10% of the opponent's maximum HP, which winds up being an absurd amount a lot of the time, specifically early game. And getting healed for it. So, you know, you're rough and tumble, you take some damage, you hit to the 1, you heal for it, and if it gets the kill, you're kind of Kali healing. That's really what I was talking about with respect to, you know, Dzoni being able to come in the middle or the end of the team fight as per his style. That's what I'm looking for. Show up, murder somebody with the 1 real quick, turn it around, your cooldowns are reset, Spear of Dezo style, you can go ahead and continue on. I'm down. Just got to find the opportunities, which Dzoni's good at. You also got to hit your stuff. Dzoni dropped, there were 2 or 3 kill opportunities in the early game, right here in the middle lane, 2v2, that Dzoni just missed. A little bit rough for a guy that's usually the mechanical master on his team. Surrounded by 3, Sibi falls down. A rough game number 2, and a rough look here in game number 3.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely spent a lot of the first 9.5 minutes talking about Dzoni and whether or not this pick is going to work, but that's kind of the nature of the beast. If we are going to give you so much credit for being the hard carry and being the dude and carrying games on Alkwang and set and that kind of stuff, this is what comes with the territory. You just have to do it a lot, and the consistency needs to be there, and most of the time it is. Just wasn't there for game 2 and hasn't been there quite yet for game 3.
And if it's not going to be, we take a brief reprieve in the action. 1,500 separating our teams. Horizon Union in the lead. You've got to look towards your teammates. And this is where I ask FaraKrik to step up and be the guy. And misplays here and there, but he gets the kill. FaraKrik, the first one to put the team on the board. I think it's a big deal, and that has to continue.
Agree. I mean, you have to get a little bit more out of Fusify as well. I feel like his positioning and kind of ultimate decisions haven't been great so far. He needs to find a better game on this Geb. Sibi cannot be super far behind, but right now he's out about a level and a half to Terrorem, which is not a good start.
Even Kespainify down.
I mean, this composition is kind of designed to keep Kespainify down. I mean, you've got a Guan Yu that chases him really well. You've got a Wild Hunt from Echrome that's really hard for him to deal with.
A second Guan Yu.
A second Guan Yu, or a second Terra ultimate, which is also great. Kespainify is, I mean, he's in a position where he's not really in a position to deal a lot.
Well, right now he ults, and we'll send everybody packing Terra ultimate used. Fusify's here, but he's alone. Big rotation from FaraKrik. This could be big impact. Fusify with a wonderful ultimate. There's the Kraken, there's the kill. FaraKrik starts it, Mr. Stefan. Nice immunity, but Dzoni finds the kill after the fact. I want to see Echrome rotate the safe way, and that's what he's doing. Markus under the tower. Nice monkey bounce, but FaraKrik again gets the kill. That's the type of injection Flashpoint needs. They're down 1,000 gold. Horizon Union have done a great job in this early game. But as we transition from early to early mid, I'm looking at FaraKrik's rotations, Dzoni coming through as well, and this is how Flashpoint transitions into the mid lane and looks to take the game.
FaraKrik in trouble. Fusify has shield ready, and he'll use it, but beads were there from FaraKrik anyways. Doesn't end up saving his life whatsoever.
Good choice by Terra.
Let it go, man. I mean, Guan Yu is able to rotate and do so much.
I'm very excited to see the Guan Yu's tearing up Fusify. Sibi's going to be able to grab one, maybe turn things around for him. Anya in trouble. And the 3 players on 2. Anya's going to heal up thanks to the Guan. That's a big play. Sibi still finds it. Here comes Markus. No ultimate available for a number of seconds. And that's the difference maker. Sibi goes down, and Markus shows up. Great answer by Horizon Union. That's what you want to see if you're rooting for HU. I think a lot of teams crumble after that Flashpoint play on the left. Horizon Union stick to their guns, make the better play in middle lane, open the door for the Gold Fury. I don't think FaraKrik can even steal this.
Bad crack in there from FaraKrik. That lets Markus off the hook. Fusify kept in combat by Markus. All he's got to do, Fear No Evil's there just to make sure a stray shockwave doesn't get the job done. Bit of a overextension by Markus there to try and find the solo kill, but at the end of the day, Horizon Union trade their jungler for a Gold Fury, which is worthwhile, but bad death to take for sure.
Yeah.
This is, can I say, I think we've really touted the European Minor League, and for good reason. They've been great all year. I'm surprised at how sloppy this play has been on both ends.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
been a bit disappointing, honestly.
Yeah. This has been Flashpoint are a team that I get just as excited to watch as the Sometimes I like watching Flashpoint than some other teams in the Pro League. I'm just going to put it that way, okay? Nope, I'm not answering because Ryan's got this what teams F dot face on.
I would never do that to a fellow green shirter.
Respect. Fist bump there. 10-8 right now, 13.5 on the clock, and Flashpoint trailing by about 2,700 gold. I don't like the way I said that. 2,700 gold.
There it is.
Kespainify battling out against, again, the Guan unit. A nice ultimate for ultimate here as Dzoni tries to land on Stefan. Guan versus Thanatos is such an interesting choice because Guan obviously gets silenced out of his third ability by way of Soul Reap. But a Guan heal is one of the more frustrating things that an execute character has to deal with. Pyro goes to Horizon Unit, Fusify blinks in to try and steal it. Instead, his life will be stolen by Markus. Sibi shows up on the back line, Dzoni shows up on the front line, FaraKrik capitalizes off of Sibi's control, down goes to support. Sibi on the run, chasing to the right, Dzoni up top. Dzoni does not have the ultimate, and not a lot of CDR. He's here with full power, looking for the damage. There's the Reap, there's the Death Scythe, there's the kill. 10 in total for FP. 3 belonging to Dzoni.
Good response there from Flashpoint. They get quite a bit out of that Pyromancer pull from Horizon Union. They'll get a tier 1 tower in mid as well. Mr. Stefan doesn't rotate alongside Kespainify to defend this tower. Instead decides to steal red. Keep pressure on the left side of the map. Markus just never gets a chance to use that ultimate that fight in a impactful spot. That ends up being a bit of the difference maker in my mind. A much better Kraken from FaraKrik that time.
Yep.
Turns out when you hit some people with that ultimate, pretty good.
Shifter shield here on Dzoni. Oh man. Oh man. The item makes sense. Finch and I the other day or Trolly and I the other day were lovingly calling it like the Thor item. You go in with all this power, somebody finally looks at you, you get out with all this tankiness, right? Thanatos is going to do something similar. The fact that Death Scythe does 60% scaling, which is right in the middle. You want a ton of power, but you can also forego it a little bit. But 10% HP as well, independent of any of your power, immediately makes it so that CDR in the first slot, second slot, is just usually, very rarely do you paint with absolutes, a better option. Having 10% damage more frequently is usually the better choice. It's very hard for me to sit in the seat that I sit in and tell Dzoni that he's incorrect. But Thanatos has scaled better with CDR for years. And I can't help but think this is a curious choice.
Kespainify in trouble, but Fusify might be the first one out. Markus and Fear No Evil will guarantee that.
Nice Kraken!
Kraken's great though from FaraKrik, and all of a sudden not so bad for FP.
Dzoni shows up, drops it down, now surrounded by 2. Beads away the stun from the Terra, and still on the run. Whirlpool to slow down the support. Great job again by FaraKrik. And this is what I was talking about. Listen, man, I say it a lot. Even Babe Ruth strikes out. Even Messi missed a couple of shots. Johnny's gonna have bad days. And your team can't look like it did in game number 2 when Dzoni has a bad game. This is usually what happens. FaraKrik usually steps up and fills this void, helps Dzoni out, gets him some kills. Most importantly, gets some kills himself. This is much more similar to what I expect to see when Johnny's having an off game. FaraKrik becomes the first option. And when he's able to do so and land his stuff, the fights look just as good as when Johnny's killing 4 people with the set. Just show me the Poseidon. FaraKrik can do this. It's what you expect out of him. Honestly, what needs to be done.
Goes a little bit more control with the Gem of Isolation. This item's fallen off a lot after the nerf and the buff of Ethereal Staff. It feels like, why am I going Gem and not just the E-Staff? With the sprint already there for Asti, I feel like I would have preferred an E-Staff in this slot for FaraKrik, but Gem Poseidon is never bad in my mind.
Whirlpool's a little different than some of the other abilities that trigger it.
Yeah, it's a vortex, it's not a slow, so you kind of double hit them more so than you do even with 2 slows.
Pretty rough. Flashpoint trailing by about 3,000. And our game is 18 minutes. Johnny ults on out of there. Ults right back in there. Markus in trouble. Now, I lamented the first item choice here, but I actually love the rest of the itemization on the Thanatos. Flashpoint started the Gold Fury. Horizon Union here and ready. Bang. Ultimate popped out by Anya, and here comes Terror looking for the backlines. Fusify pops an oddball ultimate, but there's an ultimate on top, and Terror healthy as a horse. Anya with a double kill as 2 players fall down. Say goodbye to the duo, say goodbye to the solo. Johnny's gonna be up next, and go, Johnny, go. I mean, go home, as you've been killed by Horizon Union. They're gonna cross the street. They're gonna go for Fire Giant off this. And I think they have enough time. FaraKrik doesn't have the ultimate, and everybody else is sleeping.
Easy picks for Horizon Union. I mean, Fusify, again, just tries to use that ultimate only on Terrorem, and they dump everything into him, but there's not enough damage. The Spear that Magus pick up for FaraKrik is great when you have CC to start with the Whirlpool.
Yeah.
The Whirlpool's already down, so Terrorem took no flat pen damage. If he would have been Whirlpool, then Kraken, he's dead 100% because FaraKrik used it earlier on. Again, an overlap of beads and Geb Shield, which is never a good sign to me. The communication is going well. And then the rest of Flashpoint, Kespainify and Fusify right on top of one another because they're right on top of Terrorem. Just doesn't end up working out. I feel like this double Gem of Isolation as well for Flashpoint is not good. You really only need one of these, especially when Ethereal Staff is the best mage item right now, and you've got 2 gods that can really leverage it really well. Why do we not see it?
Rough. Real rough there, for sure.
And look, I hear the argument all the time. It's like, well, we've got double gem because they only have 1 sprint. We're not, you know, it won't always overlap. There will be lots of instances where one of our slows will force a sprint, the other will be able to clean up the fight. You lose the game off 1 fight a lot of times in Smite. Flashpoint has lost the game right now. In all intents and purposes, and Horizon Union has to mess up from here in order to not win this game. So, in the 1 fight where it mattered, your double gem was bad. That's my argument. I mean, if you have E-Staff there, does it go better? Probably not. The team fight was played pretty poorly. But there's so many instances where you lose the game off of 1 engagement that having those, well, if you sprint earlier and then we team fight, it's all true.
Right.
But you have to get, that seems kind of like magical Christmas land to me. Better have that 1 fight be really good.
Horizon Union looking for the left side push. Good at a Fusify. Everybody in trouble. What is that Kraken? Markus turns it around. Aggro take the team fight. I'm mad.
Well, it's over. I don't have to take anything because 4 people are dead. I mean, it's a 5-man Cataclysm, and the only people that FaraKrik and Kraken are the frontliners, but they are full HP and are not going to take a whole lot of damage.
Fusify earned his paycheck in that 1 ultimate. That was perfect. What do you do? You know what? And I don't want to grandstand here about Flashpoint because this was fantastic play by Horizon Union, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. HU went to work in games number 2 and 3. Markus showed up on the Nansha and didn't show up. Markus showed up on the Party Monkey and showed everybody what it does to do what it is to be a jungler. Great stuff out of Markus, man. This was fantastic for Horizon Union. I got a lot of questions on Flashpoint, but again, I want to focus on the positive here because Horizon Union absolutely put on a show.
No doubt. And I mean, I think I get what you're trying to say. Sometimes they think it be like it is, but it do. And that's basically what it came down to today. I mean, Flashpoint just game 1 they looked really, really good because they get Johnny, probably the best character in the game, and then after that, they pick and ban poorly, they play poorly, and they end up losing a set that they really need to win. I mean, you have to keep pace with Simplicity, and I don't see Simplicity dropping a whole lot of games the rest of Phase 2.
Not at all. That was a runaway train, and Horizon Union, the absolute conductors. The green guys are going to be back after this. Now a break.